How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike The Pig Crum. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm tired. This is legitimately a could fall asleep. We've only had a couple of them since it actually happened, but this is a
Yeah.
legitimate. Pay attention while Paul's talking a little bit to my screen because it is very possible that if I'm not yapping my gums like I do 85% of the time, I'm like,
Well, Mike,
so
hopefully some of these topics tonight will get you yapping.
yeah, it will. I love talking Cowboys. Just long. It's gonna be a long 2 months, man. I'm going through and I told myself I'm gonna work 3 days. I'm gonna be this and that, and then Black Friday comes, and there's a Disneyland trip, and there's another Disneyland trip, and there's a Vegas trip, and it's
Oh,
like,
Lord.
yeah, and it's like, oh man, I gotta get some money saved up, So paid off almost all the black except for this baby right here. I paid off all the other Black Friday purchases. So we're doing good.
Well, Mike, I'm curious as to what you bought on Black Friday, but I'm more interested in you getting through this episode. So we'll talk about your Black Friday purchases another time, sir.
For sure.
Mike, where can we find you on Twitter?
At CD Piglet, guys, nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, Mike, I know you're sleepy and you're talking about you might doze off. I feel like this upcoming game against the Colts could be a bit of a snoozer. You had an interesting question here, though, and I'm curious as to what inspired this thought or this question. But when you look at this Colts team, are Matt Ryan and the Colts just Vikings light? What do you mean by that? Do you mean like it's going to be a dominant performance, or do you mean like this is kind of like one of those teams that has an explosive offense? Can you kind of just break that down a little bit for me?
I said, yeah, the answer to my question was yes for me. And I went through it and I was like, Kirk Cousins is kind of Matt Ryan-ish, like good quarterback, could win you any game, could also lose you a game, not be good enough. Like he's a good pro NFL quarterback. Like if your team's good enough, you can make a playoff run. He's not going to really like dominate for you, but he's good, Dalvin Cook and Jonathan Taylor, two great backs. Like Jonathan Taylor's probably better now, but Cook was better 2 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like both really good running backs, solid offensive lines, nothing spectacular. Colts were better for a while. They haven't been great this year. I feel like Pittman and Pierce are like a light version of the great Justin Jefferson and Thielen. And then their defenses are both pretty solid defenses. They're nothing. They're not, Dallas. They don't have anything like Dallas's pass rush or Dallas's ability to take away the ball, but they're good. Like both of them are good defenses. So I felt like the Colts were like, they don't have Thielen. I mean, they don't have Justin Jefferson. Like they're not that good. Matt Ryan at this point isn't as good as Kirk Cousins probably. But they're like they remind me of the Vikings, mobile, non-mobile, stay in the pocket type, decent passing quarterback that's been around for a while as a veteran, really good running back that should be dangerous, couple of receivers that can make plays, and solid defenses.
Yeah, for me, Mike, I'll keep it pretty simple. I said no, and I just, it's because the Vikings are actually a good team with a winning record, but I did like your breakdown because you make a lot of good points there. But no, it's just the Colts, the biggest difference obviously being their offensive line, and another major difference is their coaching staff,
Yeah, I agree that the Vikings have a pretty solid coaching staff. They're like, that's why I said light. Like, obviously, the Vikings are better at 9-2. They just the players at certain positions reminded me of like a lower, except for running back, where Jonathan Taylor's probably better. They're pretty much like a lower version of the same type of thing.
Yeah. No, that was an interesting question. I wasn't sure what you meant by it, but you made some good points. But like you said, the Vikings are just better. But the Colts, man, they have a lot of pieces. So if they can, get a good offensive line and obviously a new coaching staff, they could be the top team in the NFC South next year, the AFC South next year easily.
Agreed. I think they're a quarterback away.
Yeah. So another interesting question. I mean, I think we've asked ourselves, Cowboys Nation has asked themselves this question a few different games, but are you worried about this being a trap game?
I don't for Dallas for a couple of reasons. One is the Colts have played really well since Saturdays came along. They could have won all three of their games.
Yeah.
The other reason I don't is because the Colts beat us down, and typically you don't forget a shutout, like that. So
Yeah.
I assume that Kellen Moore and Dak and Lamb might have been there for that. I don't know, but there's some key players that were there for that beatdown, and I have a feeling that they didn't forget that. And so I think the trap games come in with Houston or the Jaguars before the Philly game. Those games are more trap games for me than the Colts.
Yeah, that was 2018. Lamb wasn't here, but I remember that game because man, we were riding high after the Amari trade. We started figuring things out. We go on I believe like a 6-game win streak, and then we just got humbled and hit in the mouth by a real physical Colts team. And I felt like it came at a good time because I think that team needed a bit of a wake up call.
Yeah, problem is later on the playoffs the playoff team did the same thing to us. So it ended up being a trend, not like a. We
didn't make the adjustments to stop it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, Mike, like I was saying, I feel like Cowboys Nation's asked, we've asked ourselves this question a few times this season. I thought Dak's first game versus the Lions was a trap game. We won that. I thought the game versus the Bears after they beat New England was a trap game. We won that game. I thought the game versus the Giants on Thanksgiving had the makings of a trap game, but with all the injuries the Giants were dealing with, that wasn't really a trap game, but we won that one too. I feel like it's safe to say these Cowboys have proven they aren't the Jason Garrett Cowboys. So no, this is not a trap game to me.
I agree.
How concerned are you about the Colts road game? You talked a little bit about Jonathan Taylor.
I am, because Taylor's a top 3 running back, and we haven't shown that we can stop the run if a team continues to do it. Like Saquon Barkley, the Giants just decided we're not going to try to run. But Green Bay, we were winning the game, and they ran on us. Bears, same thing, So I just feel like, until a team gives somebody the ball 20 plus times and we're able to not allow 150 yards, I'm going to be worried about it. So I don't know if I'm worried like, we're going to lose because we run a lot, but I have a feeling that they're going to run the ball well. With under Jeff Saturday, Jonathan Taylor in his 3 games have averaged over 100 yards and a touchdown every game. So they're going to give him the ball.
Yeah. I was looking at their stats, Mike, and let's make things clear. Jonathan Taylor is an elite running back, but he's an elite running back behind a bad offensive line. And the Colts have only rushed for more than 100 yards just 3 times all year. I think Taylor will have a good game, and we shouldn't sleep on Deion Jackson either. But I'm not really concerned about their run game.
Yeah, overall, as far as like worrying us as in winning the game, losing the game, I agree.
Yeah.
I think they might accumulate a good amount of yards, and it'll help them keep the game like tolerable, where maybe they're not annihilated so quickly. But I agree with you as far as the final outcome. I'm not worried about their run game.
They kind of have like a young Zeke and Jonathan Taylor, and then a Tony Pollard light and Deion Jackson, which we've seen what that kind of tandem can do. So, and we've already seen what Deion Jackson can do when he gets an opportunity. So it'll be something to watch. But I don't know, this Colts team, man, they've gone through so much this year. I'm not really worried about them, but I also you shouldn't sleep on them either.
No, I just feel like the offense is too much on a roll right now for Dallas. So knock on wood.
Right.
That they're going to be up too much, that a good run game is not going to, impact it overall.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we talked a little bit about the run game, but realistically, do the Colts have a good enough offense to beat Dallas, do you think?
I think they have enough play. Like Pittman's a good player, Pierce a good player, Jonathan Taylor obviously is elite.
Yeah.
I feel like they have players to make plays, and this ref crew is a lot of penalties ref crew, a lot of pass interference, a lot of holding,
Oh
a lot
God.
of personal foul penalties. And so I
Mm,
feel like the Colts may think to go a little bit more aggressive, try some
right.
one-on-one field stuff and hope to get some calls. And
Mm-hmm.
that worries me. If Matt Ryan can, play well against this pass rush. And I don't know if he can, but they definitely have the players to make plays. They have a
Right.
quarterback that can make plays. He doesn't do it consistently anymore, but he can. And then they have the ref crew where you could be more aggressive because these referees like to be the stars of the show.
Yeah, talking about the referees, that's an interesting aspect of the game there. I look at this Colts team and they've scored 30 points just one time all year. They've scored 20 or more points just four times all year, and they have four games where they scored a combined 25 points. I'm confident in our defense this week. I'm not seeing it from their offense. Like, you mentioned the pieces, but with that offensive line and our pass rush, I just don't think Matt Ryan's going to be able to have a game like a vintage Matt Ryan game, if you will.
I agree. They shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I mean, if Dallas plays, the way that we've seen them play this year, they shouldn't be able to. If they I don't know, if they have another first half like they did against the Giants, where they're kind of sleepwalking or they just weren't ready to play, it could be a weird start.
What if they play vanilla on defense?
Yeah, that nice transition, Mike. You're doing my job for me. Should Dallas play a vanilla game on defense in order to keep certain things from future opponents, Mike?
I not only think they play vanilla in the AFC South games, I also think they'll do some tendency breakers. So some stuff where it's on third and six or more, Dallas doesn't ever blitz. Their pass rush is so good, so they stay in coverage. I could see them blitzing some to make some tendency breakers, so that teams
Yeah.
go, "Oh shoot, they did blitz on third and six. Wow, they normally don't do that. We have to watch for
Hmm.
that." Some
Right.
stuff like that. So yeah, I expect them to play a pretty vanilla unless they are forced to get out of that. And I expect them to do some tendency breaking over these next 3 weeks.
I like that because you can still not give anything away, but also now you're just giving the other team something else to think about. So that's a good point, Mike. I like that a lot.
Yeah, you can't let great quarterbacks know exactly what you're going to do every time.
Right.
You can give them hey, there's a good chance that they're not going to blitz here, but you have to
Hmm.
let them know that it's possible though. There's 3 or 4 games this year where they did come after people, so watch it. I feel the next 3 games are going to be filled with tendency breakers. Pardon me.
Yeah, man. I hope so. That'd be nice because I mean, if you can kind of get rid of bad habits, if you want to call them that at this point, heading into the playoffs, I mean, that's an advantage for you as well.
Yeah, in my upcoming article, or you know what? It dropped this morning. Keys to
Hey, okay.
victory. I had one of them was the penalties. Gotta stop the penalties because that's a way you can keep the Colts close is if you
Hmm.
penalize. And then the other was earning the right to rush Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, yeah, by not only stopping Jonathan Taylor defensively, but by scoring offensively and
Right.
making Matt Ryan have to pass it. And then the third key was if you get to those situations, make them pay. Like
Hmm.
if you rush Matt Ryan, he's had 13 fumbles and 10 interceptions in 11 games. Like
Mm.
he's over a turnover a game. So
Yeah.
you got to make stuff happen. Make them pay for getting in that situation.
Now, is that fumbles lost or just fumbles total, Mike?
I think it's just fumbles total.
But still, man, I mean, potentially 24 turnovers. That's not good, dude.
No, that's not good at all. And with our pass rush, it should this game feels like a 3 turnover game for the Dallas defense.
Hmm. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I was going to say with our ability to cause turnovers, man, and Matt Ryan, already turning the ball over, even with just 13 interceptions. I mean, yeah, I could see Dallas taking advantage of that for sure.
I agree. They need to.
Yes, sir. So you another question from you, which I thought was a good one, but the Colts game against the Eagles, I think that kind of surprised everybody. Did that performance give you any concerns?
It didn't. I kind of told people going into Washington that I thought teams were going to start playing Philly a lot better. Eagles fans hate this, but they run a gimmick offense really well.
Yeah.
Well, they take the strength of what their quarterback is, which is running, and they pair it with a really great O line. And they said we're going to run basically a type of triple option. That's basically what they run. And it's really, really smart. And Jalen Hurts runs that offense really well. And I said it as a compliment, but because you say the word gimmick, they, defensive and then it gets
word.
it gets into how much better Hurts is than Dak and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Same thing we heard with Wentz. And the thing is they are hard to stop in that offense. But if you're disciplined and you're good the way Colts are, and you start to see teams like the Commanders played them twice, and look at how low they held them. The Arizona was able to hold them under to 20. Now this team, the Colts played them really well, and then they went against Green Bay, who's really undisciplined, and they put 40 on them because Green Bay is like trying to run past to get a sack, open it up. Hurts rolls out to his right. In no circumstance ever, the first thing you do as a defense against Jalen Hurts is never let him roll to his right, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And Green Bay was doing it all game. Like they were never told that, hey, the best thing Hurts does is roll to his right. And so if you stay disciplined and you make Hurts try to beat you the way that he's not good at, you're going to have games like the Colts game. Their offense wasn't good enough to beat Philly's defense. That happens. But you could see them getting, slowing them down. So that doesn't concern me because Dallas doesn't run that type of offense. They got Dak Prescott. It's different, Dak will have some turnovers, have some bad games, but he runs a full Kellen Moore offense. There's no triple option base where kind of it's the same, give the quarterback an easy read and let him make a play. Dak makes the calls at the line. Dak makes the reads. It's just different, So the Colts versus Philly is different than the Colts playing Dallas.
Absolutely. No, Mike, it didn't really give me any concern. I didn't get to actually watch a lot of that game. I was more surprised than concerned, but we saw that they couldn't do enough to win the game at the end. That was a good performance by them. They're playing hard for Jeff Saturday. You love to see it. Former player. Colts just not being a very good team, but no, I mean, that performance was good, but not concerning.
No, I agree.
Pittman Jr. is he good enough to make you want Trayvon Diggs to travel with him all game?
No, if they do it, it's fine. That's their main wideout, but he's not. He's Jefferson light, So, no, not for me. I think either way they match up. If Diggs ends up on Pierce or Campbell, that's fine. If he ends up on Pittman, that's fine. Pittman's good and he has the potential to be very good, but no, I don't need him traveling.
Do you think Pittman is good enough to be like a team's number one, or would he be better with another consistent receiver next to him, like a 1A, 1B type of thing?
I think Pittman can be a number one. I think if you want to have a great offense, Pittman's the number two.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Just to answer the question, do I want Diggs traveling with Pittman? I mean, I think he's good enough for a team's top corner to travel with. But there's another play that we're going to discuss here in a minute, Mike, that makes me want Diggs to kind of either stay on the left and help in other areas.
Yeah, I got you. I know who's upcoming. I read the show sheet. I did my due diligence for once.
You did your part, huh?
Yeah.
Mike, Paris Campbell, I'm not sure what your thoughts are on him, but is he a mismatch for Deron Bland and Anthony Brown?
No.
Oh,
there was some metrics on Anthony Brown that kind of surprised me that came out today, that because he's had a down year and has still played pretty damn well for a corner. Like, you couldn't ask a lot more out of a cornerback too. Now, he
yeah.
played better last year, but he was pretty friggin' good last year. This year, he's a pretty solid cornerback too. Paris Campbell and Justin Jefferson, he's all right. Like, he's fine. Deron Bland will be okay. He's a rookie. He'll make some plays on him, but Paris Campbell is not like, he's not coming out and winning games for the Colts. Like, he's not going to do that. So, no, I'm not too worried about it. Like, I like their 3 wide receiver set going forward. I like Pittman, Pierce, and Campbell in the slot. It's pretty nice, but they don't have the quarterback that's going to beat you consistently like that, and they're just not scary like that. If it's, you're more worried about the running back than you are the quarterback and wide receivers.
Mike, I realized the game versus the Giants, and I know what the issue with Anthony Brown is. He's suffering from the Cheetah Awuzie syndrome, which is he's getting beaten by perfect throws every week, dude. And that's really all it is. And that's all you remember is that one play, that like backbreaking play, if you want to call it that, or that one big play. Because you won't see it happen twice in the game, but it's always that one play. It's like, man, Anthony Brown, what's going on with him this year?
And they basically, what they do is they go, even if Brown's in perfect coverage, he doesn't pick the ball off like Diggs. So just toss it up there and see if we can get a penalty, see if the wide receiver can make a play. He was in basically absolutely perfect coverage on that play where the guy went and took it off his helmet. He just got turned around, and he probably was thinking, I'm right on this guy. It's very unlikely they're going to throw it. And the quarterbacks right now are just like, no, we're going to throw it. We'd rather throw it to you in perfect coverage than even look over at Diggs. And so he's going to get that. It reminds me, back in the day, Kevin Smith was my favorite Cowboys player in the 90s. I loved him. And we went on and got Dion, and teams were like, well, we got to throw at Kevin Smith. Just all there is to it. And he started getting beat. And I was like, damn, Kevin Smith was like a badass cornerback one. Like, he shut guys down. And now he's getting beat. Well, it's just because teams are like, I'm not throwing to the other guy. I'd rather just throw it one-on-one. I don't care how good your coverage is. And that's basically what's happening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Back to the question about Paris Campbell being a mismatch. I kind of think he is, Mike, only because he's a bigger receiver. He's a speedy receiver. We kind of saw what happened. We saw what happened to both Anthony Brown and Deron Bland when they had to face Christian Watson in Green Bay. I'd like to see, I think we'll see Diggs help cover Campbell from time to time.
I think so too. I think they'll have Pittman's going to be his number one, but I don't think they're going to try much. Whoever goes out there, they'll line up and play. Like we talked about, vanilla. They'll go a little vanilla.
And they you look at the Colts tight ends. I know their offense hasn't done much, but they've got a Mo Alley Cox, a Jelani Woods, are both bigger guys who have had some good games this year. They're both big, physical. We know what our tight ends have been capable of. I know they're kind of a different style of play there, but that could be something else for us to keep our eye on as well.
Yeah, especially in the red zone. If they run, if the Colts are able to run and get in the red zone, those guys can make plays.
Absolutely. Mike, you look at this Colts team, are they built like a team that would give Dallas trouble in the playoffs?
They're built in that style where they have the run game, the tough defense and everything, but they're not quite there because, one, the quarterback is not good enough. Like, I don't even think this Matt Ryan right now is playing as good as Jimmy G playing.
Not even close.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And then the other, I don't think the defense is, maybe if they had Darius Leonard, back, they would be in there, and they didn't have a Kenny Moore injured, they could be. Yeah. But with those guys out, their defense just isn't quite the Niners defense, the Rams defense a couple years ago. They just not quite there. So, they've
got the blueprint.
Say that one more time.
They've got the blueprint, though.
Yeah, they're being built as that type of team. They're just not there yet.
Yes, sir. All right, Mike, when you look at this game, will the Dallas defense or offense need to win this game?
I'm going to go offense because I think if the offense gets points,
Yeah.
and makes the Colts have to become win passing the ball, that
Mm-hmm.
the defense will start to crank up the pass rush. Matt Ryan will turn the ball over with picks or fumbles,
Yeah.
and then the game will get going. But I think it's if Dallas does what they do against the Giants and it's 7 to 10 points at halftime,
Mm-hmm.
then the Colts will have a chance to stick with the run game, play Jeff Saturday's way, and then they'll have an issue where it'll come down to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, I'm right there with you. I think the our defense will win the game, but our offense will be the difference maker.
I agree. Like, I believe the defense will end up being the better unit,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Yeah.
think the offense is the key. Like, you score 14 points in the first quarter, the Colts are going to have trouble.
Yeah. Absolutely. Is there a score here about this game, Mike? I've been thinking about the Giants game all weekend. That first half has just kind of been bothering me, and the end result was nice. But is there a score here where you're like, man, I'm starting to have some questions about this team?
I would be worried if the Colts were able to score in the 30s. That if the
Oh
Colts could get to
Lord,
30,
my
that would
God,
that would be like, what is going on? That means that they couldn't stop the run. When they got in the red zone, the big tight ends and the Alex Pierces and them were going up over them. They couldn't affect Matt Ryan, which I think
Mm-hmm.
I think that this team should be able to impact Matt Ryan for sure. And if they got up to 30 points, that means they weren't, and that would
Mm-hmm.
worry.
Dude, I totally forgot about Alex Pierce, man, because he's kind of been quiet the last few weeks. But holy cow, dude! Alex Pierce, Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman,
I was off on Pierce. Massey, our guy from the 4D podcast, told me about Alex Pierce, and I just watched him. I saw a 50-50 ball guy, but nothing else. Like, he couldn't do anything else. And even on his 50-50 balls, he was inconsistent. And no, he's been very, very good. And I had a day 3 grade on him, 4th, 5th round. And Massey said he'd take him in the 2nd, 3rd. And looking at him right now, I got to give Massey that credit. He's definitely looks like a 2nd, 3rd round pick more than a day 3 pick.
Yeah, I remember we discussed Alex Pierce on our not building the Cowboys, but when we start preparing for our draft coverage, because that was one of your player evaluations. I asked you to take a look at him, and you weren't too fond of him. So, yeah, man, you just never know.
Yeah, sometimes the size and speed it can be like harnessed by a good coach, and it seems like that's what's going on. Is they said no, these are your size and speed and your ability to go up and get it are what worries people. Now here's how you counteract people trying to keep that from happening, and he's done a really good job.
Mike, I'm not going to lie. You mentioned that rough crew. You bring up Alex Pierce. This is I'm a little how could I say this? I'm not as I'm confident, but I'm like, man, I could see this team like doing some things just like, oh, hold on now. This is reminiscent of the old Cowboys, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Garrett, you're worried. We have the remnants of Garrett because we had him here 10 years and some of the core players are still around. And so at the end, the offensive coordinator is still here. And so it brings some worries about. I understand that. It just, Mike McCarthy just has to keep getting these wins and proving them wrong,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mike, what's your score prediction for this week?
I got Dallas pretty big in this one, 38-13.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I think they're going to get up early, and the Colts just don't have it if they got a pass from behind. So I expect 14-3, 14-0 in the first, and then from there the defense just gets after the Colts.
Yeah, Mike, you're definitely a little bit more, I shouldn't say optimistic, but you're feeling the offense a little bit more than I am. I have it Dallas 24-13.
Still a double-digit win, but I have us piling on a couple more, scores. With Dak back, we've been the number 1 offense, so I expect that to continue to get somewhere around 30 points, basically.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, but if you take away, what is it? Somebody brought that stat up. If you take away is it the RPOs or the pass or the play action, Dak is like one of the league's worst quarterbacks.
Yeah. If you take out, it was something like RPOs, screens, play action. It was like, so if you throw these 3 routes, hey, Dak's not great at these 3. And it was a thing about Jalen Hurts. It was a reaction to my saying they run a gimmick offense. And what people don't understand is I just stopped battling with them because they don't get what if you throw 10 times in a season these other routes and you get 7 of them, it still don't mean you're great at it. It meant that teams were gearing up for your RPO. You did some or your triple option, and you did something different a couple times, and the defenses weren't ready for it, and you made the throws and the completions. Like, it's a lot harder when you make those throws a lot and you have to do them successfully, and they're not the successful plays. You're much more successful off of play action. Throwing screens, like those are your successful plays compared to dropping back versus shell coverage and trying to fit something in a zone. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, if you take the football away from Dak Prescott, he will not score, Mike.
Yes. Pretty much. Yeah.
All right, Mike, you had a funny story you wanted to share with us, man. Please talk to us about it.
Look at us like locked on Cowboys with this 30 minutes.
Hey, baby.
But I'll mess it up with this story. So this was Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning was I don't run late often. Like, I've been around a long time, and I've been late maybe twice in working 30 years or whatever. Like, it's been ingrained, beaten into me, but I was running behind them. I had to take insulin and eat, and I'm trying to get coffee to get my energy up. I didn't sleep very well. I'm looking for stuff to wear, and I got this. I'm not even exaggerating with you guys, like 20-year-old jeans. Like, they're from like when I was running the movie adult video store, like old. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to put these on, slap a belt on, no big deal. So I put the pants on, belt on, get my work shoes on. I get everything, lock up. And I'm out of there. Get to work. I'm about 2 minutes into being at work. I've clocked in and everything. And I'm like, all right, I'm clocked in. Time to put my phone away. My phone will not go in my pocket. Like, I can't get it in my damn pocket. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, what is happening? And you put your phone in your pocket so many times that you don't even look down. You're just like, why is this not fitting in my pocket right? So I look down and I'm crisscross, bro. My pants are fully on backwards. Swear to God, backwards pants. So I'm different, dude. I don't try to hide it and like go into the bathroom and change. I'm telling my best friend's dad, who's the owner, look at what I did. Look at this. My best friend's dad he's 70 something years old. He goes, 70 years. I never seen that in my life. He's busting up. I'm putting it on Snapchat, having everybody hit me up. Pants are like, so
man.
I have to go in the bathroom. I take my pants, I flip them around, While I'm in the bathroom, I don't realize it at the time, but I think my keys fall out of my my keys fall out of my pants pocket, right?
Yeah.
So I get home, and for an hour, I am looking for these goddamn keys. I'm calling Mod. I know they're in the bathroom, dude. When I wore it. You seen when I wore my pants backwards like an idiot? They fell out of my pocket when I was changing them. They got to be in there. They're not in here, dude. They're not. What do you mean? I'm looking everywhere. Let me go. Let me look in the door. Are they did I leave them in the bathroom? They fell out of my pockets in the truck. I'm looking through the truck. About an hour goes by, and I start to think about it, and I go, you know what? My pants were backwards this morning. I reach in my back right pocket. My fucking keys were. Because in the morning, I took them out of there and stuck them in my back pocket and never took them out when I flipped them around. And so instead of being in my front left, like I always have them, they were sitting in my back right pocket. And I'm calling the work. Where's the keys at, man? I dropped them out of there. Nope, right in my back right pocket. So, yeah, that was an interesting one. I crisscrossed to see if you guys seen the 70-year-old Muhammad, my best friend's dad, 70 years old, crying, laughing. I never seen that before. He has a heavy Middle Eastern accent. I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
for 70 years, I never seen somebody do that. I'm just, man.
Oh, that's greatness, dude.
Dude, backward. Oh my God. I don't think I've ever done that. I've been around 40 years. I don't think I've ever wore my pants back and didn't. And the funny thing is I went and used this massage chair after the morning when I was showering. I'm like, let me try to use it. That's what made me late, as I was trying to get a massage chair, a 20-minute massage chair session in, and I did it with my pants on backwards the whole time.
Oh, Mike. I can't think of a better way to end the show, sir. What a fantastic story, man. That actually kind of woke me up a bit.
Well, see, now you can use that in the naming of the episode. I'm sure something about backwards pants is going in there somehow.
I will find a way to honor that story, Mike. I promise you.
I thought you'd like that. I said because I wanted to tell you, like, as they were on backwards, I wanted the video and show you the video of it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait till we do the podcast, and then I'll put it out there on there.
That makes me wish I had Snapchat, Mike, just so I could have seen that story, dude.
Oh, I put it right. The first thing I do, I don't have that filter where I'm like embarrassed, or I'm like, oh, I was an idiot. Oh, great. Let me look at this moron. Like, man, it was great.
Oh, fantastic, sir. Well, Mike, before we get you out of here, remind the people they can find you on Twitter, sir.
Letter C, letter D, Piglet, guys. Nice and easy at CD Piglet.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Look at us with this 36 minutes. Let's make that a